Hello, Judge, and hello, my opponent. In the proposition's opening speech, he clearly states that the House believes that prisons should be abolished. Prisons, not the prison system. In educational debates like these and debates with fiat, diction and word choice is vitally important. So yes, I agree that the prison system should be changed. However, the institution known as a prison should not be abolished. According to my opponent's own definition, a prison is a building where people are kept as punishment for a crime or while they're waiting to go to court. I'm proposing that in addition to punishment through the loss of some rights, including the right to some freedoms, that prisons serve to educate prisoners so that those that are released can be positive additions to society. Inmates that have committed crimes deserve to be punished, not only because it is morally right, but also because families of people that have been murdered in cold blood and parents of daughters that were brutally raped deserve some sort of retribution. My opponent himself defines the word abolish as to end or stop or completely do away with. So clearly I'm not suggesting abolishing prisons nor the prison system, because I am simply adding rehabilitation to punishment, thus not completely doing away with anything. My opponent suggests alternatives that he believes will work in place of prisons if they were abolished, but his two alternatives that he suggests either A, are still prisons, or B, are not feasibly possible. His first alternative is boarding houses and public service for violent criminals. The boarding house is a building. Being forced to live in the boarding house and being unable to leave is losing the right to freedom, losing the right to bear arms, losing the right to free speech, losing the right to assemble. Do you see the pattern here? All of these losses are retribution for violent crimes they committed, and all of these losses are results of judicial procedure, thus satisfying all the parts of the definition of punishment that my opponent has already conceded to. Punishment is 1, the loss that serves as retribution, and 2, a penalty inflicted by judicial procedure. So the alternative argument is no, because it is still a prison. His second alternative is that nonviolent offenders be sent to the military. First of all, he begins his defense by saying that juveniles don't have to go to the military because they will be in a juvenile detention center. A major function of a juvenile detention center is to detain delinquents waiting to be prosecuted in criminal court. Let's go back to the definition. A prison is a building where people are kept while they are waiting to go to court. Therefore, my opponent contradicts himself by saying that we can keep this when it is in fact a prison. In order to send all the nonviolent criminals to the military, they would have to be educated to a high enough level. This education would have to happen in a building where they are forced to learn and lose their freedom as a sentence through judicial procedure, making it a prison. It takes 4 years, but even if it took them 2 years to get the diploma, most of them would have served full prison terms and never made it to the military, and would have just served all their sentence in prison. My opponent uses a study done by Maddock in 1960 as a basis of his argument as to how much better military is to prison. But I again say that this study is irrelevant. The only thing I was mistaken about was the Vietnam War, because this is an educational debate. I researched and I found the study. The study is entitled Parolees in the Army during World War II. The top right paragraph says that they are paroled. Therefore, my opponent has no warrant to support his claim, which is why this alternative should be dismissed. I should win this debate because I have proven that prison is a crime deterrent, evident by the United States' historic progress in reducing crime and incarceration rates. In the past 5 years, both the overall crime rate and overall incarceration rates fell by around 10%. Prisons also solve for the harms of having mass murderers and serial rapists walking free in society, preying on little children. Prisons keep these criminals locked away and unable to harm society. I also suggested working reforms for prisons to make them better, with evidence like the 52% difference in recidivism rates due to education in Oklahoma. And my opponent's arguments are not unique because they're either still prisons or are not feasible. My opponent uses faulty evidence and contradicts himself. As an educational debate with fiat, preciseness is necessary. Therefore, prisons should not be abolished.